All right, let's be on the record in two cases, those being 2018 CR967 and 2020 CR394, both caps in state of Kansas versus Candace Morton. Would the parties announce their appearances, please?
May it please the court, Candace Alcarez appears on behalf of the state.
May it please the court, Your Honor, defendant appears with her counsel, David Winery, via Zoom.
All right, we are here set down for a revocation hearing on the 2018 case and a plea hearing on the 2020 case. I suppose we'll take up the plea first, and then when we get to the end of that, we can talk about the revocation. Ms. Morton, excuse me, Ms. Morton, in order to go over this plea with you, I'm going to need to ask you some questions. First, I'm going to have my court reporter swear you in, and we'll start asking those questions. If at any time when I'm asking questions, you don't understand what I ask you, tell me that so we can talk about it until we both understand. And at any time, if you want to talk to Mr. Winery in private, like you did before we all came in, I'll allow you to do that. You just tell me you want to do that and we'll send you out there, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. If you'd raise your right hand, my court reporter will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony, excuse me, that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Morton, how far did you go in school?
High school graduation, Your Honor.
All right. You reading right okay?
Yes.
I know you're in custody, but as you sit here today, are you under the influence of any alcohol or drugs or prescription medicine that might cloud your mind, keep you from understanding what you're doing today?
No, sir.
Feel like your mind's clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. You understand what you're charged with?
Yes, sir.
All right. You know that you don't have to change your plea from not guilty to guilty. If you wanted to maintain your not guilty plea, you would have an absolute right to a jury trial on those charges. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. At that trial, Mr. Winery would be able to assist you. He would cross-examine and confront all of the state's witnesses. He could call any witnesses you wanted called, and if they didn't want to come to court, he could use a subpoena power to make them come. You would have a right to testify at that trial, but you'd also have a right not to testify. And if you decided not to, the state couldn't use that to argue that you must be guilty. Do you understand all those rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then if we had that trial and at the end of that there was a conviction, you'd have a right to appeal that conviction to an appellate court. And if you didn't have the money to do that, a lawyer would be appointed to do it for you. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, if you go forward with this plea, you're going to be giving up all of those rights, and there's not going to be any kind of trial either to a court or a jury. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Before we came on the record, I discussed with the lawyers what the plea agreement is. And my understanding is that the defendant will be pleading to level 9, theft, which is a level 9 non-person felony, that the parties are going to agree to recommend that she receive probation, and that by operation of law, it will have to run consecutively to the old case that we're here on a revocation for. Ms. Alcarez, I'll ask you first. Is that your understanding of the plea?
Yes, Judge.
And Mr. Winery?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Morton, you heard what I just kind of outlined as the plea agreement in this case. Is that your understanding of the whole plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anybody promised you anything other than what I just read to get you to plead guilty today?
No, Your Honor.
Anyone place any force or threats against you to make you plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Now, a level 9, let me ask the parties here. What do we expect that Ms. Morton's criminal history score is going to come out to be?
An F, I believe.
Yep, an F.
An F as in Frank?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So, Ms. Morton, I'm sure that Mr. Winery's talked to you and kind of shown you the sentencing guidelines and where he suspects that you will fall on that grid for sentencing purposes. Now, if there's something that the lawyers don't know about and it makes your score higher than that F, you might be subject to a higher sentence than you and Ms. talked about. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, what my job for today is to do is just assume for purposes of today's hearing that you have the very worst criminal history possible so that I can advise you that the very maximum that anybody could get for this crime is, okay?
Okay, Your Honor.
The maximum in this for a level 9 is 17 months in prison and a fine of $100,000, and that would carry 12 months of post-release supervision. Do you understand that that's the maximum sentence in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any questions for either me or Mr. Winery about anything that we went over today?
No, sir.
Mr. Winery, do you know any reason why your client should not plead guilty today?
No, at this time, Your Honor, no.
All right. So I will ask you, Ms. Morton, as to the count of theft, which is a severity level 9 non-person felony, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right. Now I'm going to ask Ms. Alcaraz to tell me what she thinks the evidence would be if this case went to trial. I want you to listen to that because when she's done, I'm going to ask you if you agree that that's what happened, okay?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Alcaraz.
Yes, Judge. State's evidence would be that on June 5th of 2020, the defendant present here today via Zoom did enter into and drive a 2012 white Dodge Charger away from a parking lot located at 141 South 18th Street, Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County. This vehicle belongs to Marquise Brown, and he did not give her permission to be in or use this vehicle. According to him, the vehicle was worth $13,000 at the time.
All right. Ms. Morton, I'll ask you, is that what happened in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I will find the defendant has freely, voluntarily, and intelligently entered into this plea. She understands the nature of the charges, the consequences of the plea. The state has provided a sufficient factual basis, and I will in fact find that the defendant is guilty as charged. I'm going to continue sentencing and order a pre-sentence investigation. We will set that sentencing pending that pre-sentence investigation. Now turning to the revocation case, which as I mentioned earlier, is 2018-CR967. We'll take that up at this time. There
Judge,
was a motion for probation revocation filed. Mr. Winery, I would ask you, did you and Ms. Morton get a copy of that? And have you had an opportunity to review the allegations?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is her position on those allegations today?
We will stipulate that she did not comply with probation and also picked up another charge.
All right. State, you accept that stipulation?
yes, Judge.
All right. Are we ready for disposition today?
Judge, I think we should just do it with the other case, so that way all the numbers and everything will start running at the same time.
The sentencing time. Any objection to that, Mr. Winery? It sounds like a good plan to me.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so I will accept the defendant's stipulation, find that she's in violation of her probation, and we will continue this for disposition, set it alongside her sentencing, which I'm looking at, Mr. Winery, if we want to do this by Zoom again, I've got an October 2nd docket. Let me take a look at it and see what how far we've gotten on that.
I'm good on October 2nd, as long as it's
Okay. I've only got a 9 o'clock right now, so I could do 10 o'clock. Does that work for you?
yeah, 10 o'clock works.
Ms. Halcrest?
Yes, Judge, that works.
All right, 10-2 at 10 a.m. for sentencing by Zoom. I'll send out the invites. Mr. Winery, want to be heard on bond today?
Yes, I did notice that in the plea agreement that Ms. Alcaraz said that if she had any problems between now and sentencing, that she would be in a lot of trouble, probably not just with her, but probably also with His Honor. And I was going to ask whether she could get OR bonds and be released pending sentencing. Not really sure what the state's position is.
Ms. Alcaraz?
Well, Judge, just so that we make sure we don't have any problems, I'd be okay with her doing pretrial screening for release. Then that way, at least we'll have tabs on her and we'll be able to see if she's going to be a good candidate for probation.
All right.
So I would be comfortable with that.
I'm going to order her screen for pretrial service release and get her on out of there. So here's what that means, Ms. Morton. Somebody from that office is going to come up and talk to you about getting you out of jail. And as long as you meet their criteria and all that, they'll do that. What Mr. Winery said is really important, okay? Because if you don't show up for court, or if you get in more trouble while you're out, then the state might not be bound by their agreement. And they may seek, if your sentence allowed it, a denial of probation. They may seek that your old case sentence gets imposed, okay? So it's really important you do two things when you're out. One is to not get in any more trouble, and two is to show up for court and, you know, keep in touch with Mr. Winery. If you're going to be out, there's a couple of ways. If we're going to do this by Zoom again, you can get on if you have access. If not, you can go to his office, or hopefully by that time we'll have a place in the courthouse set up for people who don't have access otherwise. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Yeah.
All right. So 10/2 at 10 a.m. by Zoom, I'll send out that information. I'm going to get a hold of pretrial services as soon as we hang up here and have them come look at her. Other things for our record today?
Not
No.
from the state judge.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
One thing I may mention,
Yes.
if the defendant is released, she's going to be going to pretrial, obviously, but also have her give me a call as well.
All right. Do you know how to get a hold of Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, I do. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
make sure you do that, okay? Because I don't want him saying you got out and then we don't see you anymore, because I'd probably have to issue a warrant before we ever came back for court, okay?
Yeah, I won't do that. Thank you.
All right, good luck, Ms. Morton. We'll see you all on October 2nd. Anything else for our record today?
No.
Judge, just make sure that we get the petition in and filed before sentencing.
I'll get
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Keep in touch with Mr. Weiner, because when you get out, maybe one of the first things we need you to do is go by and get a copy of that plea petition and get it signed, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Okay, so call my lawyer and call my probation officer and stay out of
Yep.
trouble.
Yes.
Okay, yes, sir.
always good ideas, but particularly important in this case when you get out, okay?
Yeah, I will.
All right. We are adjourned.